Hey guys, and welcome back to an episode of The Terror Zone. Today, we'll be looking at the dark origins of The Lion King, one of Amanda's all-time favorite movies. Mostly, The Lion King being based on Hamlet is far from the truth. It actually is almost more based on other stories, which we'll get into eventually, as others that follow the same kind of pattern. Now, it is mostly based off of King Arthur, the Old Testament of the Bible, and many others. It's mostly all of coming-of-age kingly stories that came before. Of course, Hamlet is the basis of Lion King, but there are others that definitely take this way more further. So Lion King is actually based on all these stories all together in one. Mostly, The Lion King is mostly an original story by the writers, and is not based on anything particular. It's just a story that they just made up all together and stitched all these stories together into one story. But I will look over all of these stories and tell you how they're connected to The Lion King in some classical way. In any case, these stories have come together for Lion King in some classical way possible. And we'll be talking about these things today on this particular episode. Tom Musker, the original writer of Lion King, originally saw this and didn't really exactly say it was based on Lion King at all. He says that it was based off of the three as follows: King Arthur, the Old Testament, the Bible, and more. The Commission. Hamlet versus Lion King. Despite The Lion King not being the same as Hamlet, there are some things that are the same and some things that differ from the original. And we're going to discuss why these two are always referred to as each other. We're also discussing many other things, like how Lion King takes other iterations of different stories as like how Lion King 2 takes Romeo and Juliet and Macbeth as well. And surprisingly enough, The Lion King 1.5 takes inspiration from the two sidekicks who are in the Hamlet story that take place, and they take their perspectives on the story. So without further ado, let's look at the story of Hamlet and how it differs from The Lion King itself. I can see why Hamlet is compared to Lion King. In the story, things are similar. The story follows a prince by the name of Hamlet, whose father, the king of Denmark, has died unexpectedly. Hamlet is disappointed in this and very sad in the news, and quickly the king's brother rules in his place, and also marries the widow queen in the process. One day, Hamlet is visited by his father as a ghost, telling him that his uncle Claudius was the person who killed him, and asks Hamlet to kill him, Claudius, and take revenge. With that, where most of the similarities lie. Later ends, though. Later in the story, Hamlet is third story. These are different things that happen during the story that make Lion King and Hamlet differ. Like, for instance, Hamlet is 30 years old and far from being adult. He doesn't come of age like Simba does in the movie. So being responsible and coming of age doesn't really apply into the story. Hamlet is motivated by his father's death as ever, and unlike Simba, who is motivated to come of age and move with his past, mostly during Hamlet's expelled, his quest expires and comes back not learning anything. Unlike Scar, Claudius feels guilty about killing his brother. Also, there are some characters we should talk about. During every Shakespeare story, there is also a comic relief character. In this case, in Lion King, there is Timon and Pumbaa. So there are helpful sidekicks who help each other out within the main character of the story. They're not mentioned here, but they will be mentioned in a later video. I will talk about in Lion King 1.5 and how they differ from each other in the movie. But that's a later video. Hamlet does have a love interest, just like Nala, but she is named Ophelia. But she ends up killing herself after Hamlet kills her father behind the curtain. Hamlet thought it was his mother being attacked by Claudius, but that wasn't the case. And with that, Ophelia's brother comes to kill Hamlet for revenge. Things get crazy from here. Hamlet and Ophelia's brother got into a duel, and with that in mind, he uses the poisoned knife, and he manages to kill Hamlet and himself, settling their fates. Claudius, in the case, had a poison drink if he thought, and ended up in Hamlet winning. But instead, even though Claudius, the queen, was not supposed to drink it, she did anyway, and drinks it. This is happening. During the duel, so it made Hamlet become really mad, determined to kill Claudius on he tried to kill him as well. The whole kingdom invades, it having them two rules over. Claudius Hamlet's killed as well. Claudius, just before he dies for revenge on his mother. Mostly at the end, everyone dies. So, as you can see, the stories are moved differently. So let's discuss what just happened real quick, if you guys weren't following along too well. So what happens is that Ophelia's brother was having challenges Hamlet to a duel and Ophelia's brother uses a poisoned sword to kill Hamlet. During Hamlet dueling the brother, he sees that Claudius has a drink, and as this is happening, the mother drinks it, and he sees this happening, and he knows that Claudius had this drink waiting for him, so he knew this was happening. So he went to go kill during the duel for revenge on Claudius for killing his mother as well. Soonly after all these characters die, the whole kingdom is invaded by all people, and that's the end of our story. Basically, the kingdom was overruled by all these people, choosing what they want to be as king. Claudius dies in the commotion of this. And so nobody wins. Everybody just ends with a whole free-for-all at the end. As you can see, the story differs from moving differently and making them not so similar. Lion King teaches forgiveness and the past and being responsible. Unlike Hamlet, it teaches more like that I guess revenge is ugly and don't do it. It's going to follow you it's going to follow you. Now, each story like this has a theme. In this case, it is called The Quest. The Quest has a basic formula, like Cinderella is rags to riches, and Hansel and Gretel are children and a witch, as known as story keepers. In this, the is known as a quest in it. Now, it is not really called story keepers, but I'm just going to call it that because there are some topics. It's called key topics, I think I'm going to call it. They're called key topics, really. The original title is called key topics. as follows. The quest is as follows. A far away in a place, a palace, the goal, the hero learns a lesson. And last, the one hero echoes the goal and becomes the most important thing to it. The hero and as the goal and the here shows it similar to the lore, to the Lord. The Ring, Lord of the Rings. Odyssey, Simba as the hero of the Pride Rock is his goal and being the most important to as the story goes on. Simba grows and goes through a lot of obstacles and his friends and enemies. It's his dead father and Rafiki, the wise man. The stage for the quest are 1. The call, 2. The journey, 3. Arrival and frustration, 4. The find the awful, 5. The goal. It's also inspiration for the Lion King. Arthur and his journey, that is the show, and by this call being the sword in the stone, and journey being his arrival adventures of the Knights of the Round Table. Unlike the story of the revenge we get in Hamlet. So why the similarities? Well, there is actually an older story of Hamlet that inspired the call of ailment. That's what it's called, an ailment. And it's an older story that kind of actually tells a more of a Lion King-like kind of story. Let's take a look. The story starts similar to Hamlet, with the main character out for a quest of revenge for a villain victim, his uncle. This is he who designs himself the plan and steps along the way. But unlike Hamlet, the main character didn't really go out to kill the villain and destroy Hamlet. Would not do that anywhere he could. It ends up where the main kill of all the sing and fire and shares this of Lion King. You see, it ends up being more of a quest and journey. So the main character goes on a quest to find the villain and kills him for revenge. But instead of that happening, goes on a valiant quest to grow up and learn. So once he gets to his final destination in the goal, he finds that he shouldn't really kill the villain for revenge. Instead, just confront him, which was what Simba ends up doing. He confronts Scar and confronts his past and takes care of Scar a different way, where the fire gives in and kills Scar. Just like in the movie where Scar almost gets killed by the fire, but instead is killed by his hyenas. So it's almost very similar in that way. Kimba the White Lion. This movie, a Japanese movie that came out a few days before Lion King. And there are some similarities, but it's that it come at roughly the same time. Despite Kimba coming out before, the creator was a big fan of Disney movies, so he recorded Disney to make money off of them. You see, the author made a lot of different movies that were based on Lion King, Disney movies like Bambi and many others. So it was just a coincidence that came to be. He wanted to make different versions of Disney movies just so Japanese people can see the stories as well from Disney perspectives. Just like how Disney made their own version of Winnie the Pooh, the Japanese made their own version of Disney movies as well. It's a mere coincidence that Kimba the White Lion and Simba and Lion King are so similar. The same goes for The Thief and the Cobbler. Sure, it looks similar to Aladdin, but it differs, the story. Right? It's just a mere coincidence, coming at the same time as well, but did better over the other. So, Disney looked at the Thief and the Cobbler and made it better, but it's not a direct ripoff. And more on that story too is that, well, while it is sort of about Aladdin and many other different things, Thief and the Cobbler is more about the thief taking the gold balls from the top of the tower. And it's more about different adventures they go on to get that back, and many other things like that. So there's more other story at play into the Thief and the Cobbler than there is in Aladdin. And that is where we end the story off. What'd you guys think of The Lion King and the original version? What'd you guys think? Do you think it's similar? Do you think it's different? Tell me in the comments below what you think about Lion King yourself and what you felt about these stories. And tell me did anything interest you? Did I open you up to stories? Tell me in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Bye on the Terror Zone.